invite us to stretch up. And again, to really think of yourself like a tree. We're going to be using the metaphor of a tree today. So feel first your roots going down deep into the earth. Feel them connecting to the deep underground stream of God's love and the love of Spirit. And then feel yourself pulling that up through your legs, through your torso, into your heart. And then fill it up your arms and let it spill out your arms. And spill out all around you. And then open yourself wide and take in the beauty of the world around you. And then wrap yourself up and hold that love and beauty to yourself and to your heart. And then slowly roll down a little bit and just let it all go. And let your head kind of swing a little if you want. And just feel yourself letting go anything you want to let go of from the day or anything. Just kind of swing a little and let it go back to the earth, where it all becomes compost. And then slowly roll up again. And let yourself, your hands come up again and feel your connection to the stars and the cosmos and all that is above us that also holds us. And then feel your arms come out again, and then feel your heart connecting to the heart of the world, and bump hearts with each other. And then bring it back in a little bit. And then once again, feel your heart expand and bump hearts with other hearts. And then bring yourself back a little bit. And then just move around. Sometimes we call this a spine dance. You might want to shake things out just a little bit. And then take a deep breath and let it out with a sigh. Whew. Take another deep breath and let it out with a sigh. Whew. And feel your whole body and spirit and mind and heart all interconnected. Part of one whole. Link us to the song, and you can keep moving if there's any way your body needs to stretch or move. And then I invite us to sing along with the song as you feel moved, and just feel your body moving and feel that transformation of the heart that comes from knowing that we are deeply loved by God, by the divine, by Spirit. And that healing can pour out and bless the whole world. So as we listen, I invite us just to move. Open up your heart to the fire of creation. Open up your heart to the fire of transformation. Feed the flame of the holy fire, live it. May the fire of life burn higher and higher, live it, be it. Open up your heart to the fire of creation. Open up your heart to the fire of transformation. Come feed the flame of the holy fire, live it, be it. May the fire of life burn higher and higher, live it, be it. Open up your heart to the fire of creation. Open up your heart to the fire of transformation. Come feed the flame of the holy fire, live it, be it. May the fire of life burn higher and higher, live it, be it. Open up your heart to the fire of creation. Open up your heart to the fire of transformation. Come feed the flame of the holy fire, live it, be it. May the fire of life burn higher and higher, live it, be it, live it, be it, live it, be it. Amen. So did that get spirit moving a little bit in the body and the soul and the spirit? Maybe wake us up a little bit. Welcome to everybody who's joined us since we started our song. And we are grateful to be in this time and space all together. So as we transition into our prayer time, we bring this vitality with us into our prayers. And I believe that as we combine our hearts and minds and intentions, there is a transformation, there is a healing that happens as we commune with the energy of divine presence and send it out to where it's needed. So I invite us then to come into our prayer time holding each other in prayer as community. And so as you begin your prayer, I invite you to address it directly to God, Spirit, whatever language you use for that, and to lift up your prayer request as a prayer. And then we will close by saying, God, in your grace. And then we say, hear our prayers all together. We continue to send prayers of healing light to our world, soul and body, mind, or spirit. May they be given comfort and strength and exactly what they need. Prayers for the healing of our nation. Prayers that this current strife we are in be labor pains for a new birth, a new dawn, a new day. Give us the courage and strength and resilience to make it through that time. And guide us as we deeply connect with your eternal love for us, so that our hearts, so strengthened, may be lights radiating your divine presence to be part of the healing and transformation in the world, little by little, bit by bit, piece by piece. We lift up all these prayers to you today, and those that may be in our own hearts that maybe we haven't said out loud. We trust that you hear them, and we offer them connecting with the Spirit of Christ, Yeshua and Mary, and the divine eternal presence. Let us continue to pray as we say together the prayer of Jesus, of Yeshua, printed in your bulletin. Our Mother who is within us, we celebrate your many names. Your wisdom come, your will be done, unfolding from the depths within us. Each day, you give us all that we need. You remind us of our limits, and we let go. You support us in our power, and we act with courage. For you are the dwelling place within us, the empowerment around us, and the celebration among us, now and forever. Blessed be. And so as we continue, as is our tradition, if we could have one person sing the Shema Yisrael, one person read the Gospel of Mary passage, and then one person read the Tao Te Ching passage. Those are all in your bulletin. If you continue to scroll down, you will find those there. So did someone want to sing the Shema? Okay, Dean, great, wonderful. Does someone want to read the Gospel of Mary passage? Okay, thank you, Ruth. And does somebody want to read the Tao Te Ching? There you go, Lynn. Okay, great.
Okay, please sing after me. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
The Gospel of Mary, 1 through 4, verse 7. What is matter? Will it last forever? The teacher answered, all that is born, all that is created, all the elements of nature are interwoven and united with each other. All that is composed shall be decomposed. Everything returns to its roots. Matter returns to the origins of matter. Those who have ears, let them hear. Peter said to him, since you have become the interpreter of the elements and the events of the world, tell us, what is the sin of the world? The teacher answered, there is no sin. It is you who make sin exist when you act according to the habits of your corrupted nature, rather than your true nature. This is where sin lies. This is why the good has come into your midst. It acts together with the elements of your true nature so as to reunite it with its roots. This is why I told you, become content at heart, while also remaining discontent and disobedient in deed. Become contented and agreeable only in the presence of that true image of nature. When the Blessed One had said these things, he greeted them all. Peace be with you, he said. Acquire my peace within yourselves. The child of true humanity exists within you. Follow it. Those who search for it will find it.
And from the Tao Te Ching teaching, some say that my teaching is nonsense. Others call it lofty, but impractical. But to those who have looked inside themselves, this nonsense makes perfect sense. And to those who put it into practice, this loftiness has roots that go deep. I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate toward yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world.
And thank you, Ruth. I'm still muted. So I love those passages that were just read. They're so deep and rich and wide, and we could spend an entire week unpacking them. But today we're just going to take a start on that journey and lift up a couple of threads in particular. And one of the threads I want to lift up is one of the lines from the Tao Te Ching. This loftiness has roots that go deep. It's both vast and cosmic, and yet reconnects us right down to the root. And so we're going to talk a bit about rootedness today, being rooted and grounded in God's love, and how that can so transform our hearts that we can be part of the transformation of the world. There is a little piece of this sermon where, in order to get to a place of shared imagery and shared language, I'm going to have to do a little bit of teaching, but I'm going to do that to try and reconnect us to this gospel and to the hidden gems that I think lie within it. But to start, I'm going to invite us to begin by being rooted and grounded in God's love and spirit. So I'm going to invite us to just take a moment within ourselves of a kind of a meditative place for just a moment, where I will read to you the passage from Ephesians. And I invite you to not so much listen to it with your mind, but with your heart, with your soul. Notice what shimmers for you. And that will be the root from which the rest of the sermon flows. So I invite you, if you are willing, to close your eyes for a moment. To once again take a deep breath. To feel the interconnectedness of all the different parts of your body. How they're all connected to your heart. And I invite us to listen to this sacred text from your heart and soul and spirit. I pray that God may grant that you may be strengthened in your inner being with power through God's Spirit, and that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith as you are being rooted and grounded in love. As you are being rooted and grounded in love. I pray that you may have the power to comprehend what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, so that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Keeping your eyes closed for a moment, I invite you to just drink that into your being. And imagine that love and light of God surrounding your whole body. And imagine yourself like a great tree, a great and mighty tree whose roots go down deep, deep, deep. Those roots touch the underground stream of God's eternal love. And as you are rooted there, I invite you to pull some of that energy and spirit of God's love up through your roots, through your feet, into your body, and right up into your heart. Let it fill your heart with deep peace. And then imagine it to keep going up through your throat, your face, the top of your head, and keep extending up until you connect with the cosmos. Know that you are held by something larger than yourself. You are cherished and cradled within that knowledge. And bring that back down into your heart. And feel that place where earth and heaven meet in your heart. And let it infuse your entire body with deep peace and presence. So I invite us again to take another deep breath, to come back to the awareness of your own body and soul and spirit. And bring your awareness back into the room, into the space around you, and back to our time together. When you are ready, you can then open your eyes. So this, to me, is the place where we start. It is the root that Jesus describes in the Gospel of Mary. Each of us are deeply rooted and grounded in this love, which is vast, wide, deep, eternal. And one of the metaphors, spiritual metaphors, that can help us understand how this love that is rooted runs through us and through the world is the metaphor of a tree. It's simple enough, but has been used by spiritual traditions for millennia. And in the Jewish mystical tradition, also known as the Kabbalah, the great tree of life is a metaphor that is used, as is the metaphor of a great tree, also known as Jacob's ladder. I believe that Jesus, being mystic and Jewish, was a Kabbalist. When we look at the Gospel of John and the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of the Beloved Companion, they are very Kabbalistic, and they all use the metaphor of a tree to talk about our own spiritual awakening and expansion of consciousness. So for just a moment, I would like to teach us that metaphor of the tree that's often used to help us have a shared image and a shared language to, one, help us understand some of what Jesus is saying in the Gospel of Mary, and two, to apply it to our current daily lives and how I think it can help us provide a spiritual frame for the work of transformation and justice we do in the world. This description will be brief and overly simplistic. We could take a whole week to unpack this, but just very briefly. If you imagine a great tree that has 4 interlocking spheres, and if we start at the top, the metaphysical reality within this tradition understands that there is a realm of divine unity where all is pure energy, where the divine is one, undivided, and we are part of that great, vast expanse of divine unity, divine love, pure energy, not yet into form. If we continue to descend a little bit on the tree, we get into the second sphere, which is the spiritual realm, where we have the pure essence of everything. We have the pure whole essence of tree before it fully becomes a tree, or an animal, or a human being. And there's lots more we could say about this realm, but that lives and exists on that realm, which is called Bria in Hebrew. As we continue to descend, we get into the psychological world and the astral realm where things are kind of fluid. And then we come all the way down to the bottom where everything is fully manifested. And we have the full physicality of tree and human and animal. Now, it doesn't mean that once we get down there, we're disconnected from the top. It's actually much more holistic and holographic than that. Everything is contained within everything else. We don't have to, it's not like the roots are more important or the top is more important than the bottom. But I lift this up because this is at the heart of Jesus's teachings. There's this belief that there is a realm that we can access, and we access it through the heart, through deep meditation, and through our daily lives when we're fully present, that allows us to still access this realm of unity and spirit and wholeness. And it's part of the understanding of the passage, as above, so below, or what we're doing when we're trying to bring heaven and earth. We're trying to fully integrate these two realms in the places where they've kind of become disconnected. We can also think of it as the images I put in the bulletin today of the great tree of life, the Celtic tree of life. We draw things up from the roots, it goes up through the tree, and then it spills out, and then it becomes the roots again, and we are part of that interconnected circle. Now, why I believe this is important, one, because it helps us understand what Jesus is saying in the Gospel of Mary, and two, it helps us understand the work that we do in the world. Because the point isn't just to be blissed out up there, but to try and bring sort of heaven to earth. One great example of how this understanding can help us is it helps give a spiritual understanding of the social justice work that we do. Now, for this community, that might already be obvious, but just bear with me for a second, because I've heard people say this, and maybe you've heard somebody say something like this too. For example, when we look at the Black Lives Matter movement, we know that's important, and we believe, and I believe this community cares about it. But I've heard some people say, not in this group necessarily, but say, well, but I believe that with God, everything's equal. And I believe that on a spiritual level, we're all connected, and I don't see color. And I think that in God's realm, we're all equal. So I don't understand why we have to do this work, or why we have to sort of be so forceful about it. And we might say to that, well, yeah, that's true. On those upper levels of divine reality, that's absolutely true. Everything is equal and connected. But we know when we look down here in the physical world, we're not fully in alignment with that realm, right? There's brokenness, and we're trying to heal the brokenness so that it reflects what is above. As above, so below, as above. What we're trying to do is reunite those worlds. That's part of the motivation, the spiritual motivation for what we're trying to do. It's the intersection, I believe, of spirituality and social justice. We're trying to, in a way, bring heaven to earth until earth fully reflects. I mean, when I say earth, I mean our societies, our structures fully reflect that realm of God. In the Gospel of Mary, Jesus gives us 2 key points on how we can do this, which is also, I think, an example of Jesus using this metaphor of the tree. So Jesus first tells us that it's really important for us to be content at the level of the heart. That is a key. All of these things, all of these realms of understanding connect through the heart. That's where we access it. Jesus also talked about the kingdom of God being within us, that peace being within us. So first we heal our own hearts, and I think we do that by rooting and grounding in this Ephesians passage, or those like it, the knowledge that God's love is eternal. Then Jesus says something else that is paradoxical. His next sentence is, be content at the heart while also remaining discontent and disobedient. Indeed, become contented and agreeable only in the presence of the true image of nature. So what Jesus is talking about here is that this belief that in one realm, the true image of nature, of wholeness, already exists. That's what we're supposed to be content with. That's what we're being called to align with. It's not about perfection. It's about wholeness. So we're being invited to be content at the level of the heart, to do our own heart healing, but to be content with anything that doesn't match that, with anything that is out of alignment with that realm, until we can work together to fully realize that realm on earth. This is also, I think, what he's talking about when he's talking about sin, which could take us a whole week to unpack. But I think he's saying that in those upper realms, sin doesn't exist. There's no such thing as original sin. Sin is simply, we know the Greek means to miss the mark. So sin is simply when we act out of alignment with that wholeness, that's when we do actions that we could call sin, or that are broken, that miss the mark. But sin as a thing isn't part of the upper wholeness of God. So what we're trying to do when we do the work of social justice is heal that and bring those into alignment and right relationship with each other. Now, I came across a story that to me was a great example of this paradox that Jesus is talking about, being content at the heart and yet being discontent with those things that are out of alignment. And I know many of you have been paying attention to all the incredible tributes to John Lewis, as we know, the incredible congressman who gave his life to service. And I don't know if some of you saw the interview that John Lewis did with John Batiste as part of this series called Barbershop Stories, where they have an interview literally in a barbershop. And John Batiste asked John Lewis what wisdom he would give to the younger generations. And without missing a beat, John Lewis said, I would help remind them of the power of love, the way of peace, the way of nonviolence, which is truly transformative. And he told the story in 1961, when he was part of the freedom movement, As you know, it was still illegal then for people to ride together, for Black and white folks to sit together on a bus. So he and another activist, intentionally, who was white, sat together on a Greyhound bus. And then when they got to their destination, it was their goal to walk into the white waiting room together. Unfortunately, when they arrived, there were Klansmen waiting for them, and they literally beat them, as John Lewis said, to a bloody pulp, and left them there, and they never made it into the waiting room. Years later, that was 1961, in 2009, when John Lewis was at an event, a man approached him with his son, and he said, "Mr. Lewis, I am the Klansman that beat you up that day in 1961. He said, "I want to apologize from the depths of my heart for that action, and I ask your forgiveness." John Lewis reached out his hand and said, "I forgive you." They embraced, they cried, their son cried, and there was this moment of healing and reconciliation. And what John Lewis said to John Batiste, he said, "I actually don't hold any ill will in my heart. It doesn't do any good." Martin Luther King said, "The weight of hate is heavy, and I want my spirit to be free." He said, "I've chosen the path of love, and my spirit is free." Such a powerful, powerful story of healing and transformation that comes from the heart. And while that kind of forgiveness is not easy, and I'm sure John Lewis, he had a lot of years in spiritual practice and spiritual community to get to that place. But knowing that he was a spiritual man and a Christian, I have to guess that part of what enabled him to do that was to know that he was rooted in God's unconditional love. He kept coming back to that root, which let him know that all these other things around him that told him he was less than that were a distortion. They weren't part of God's spiritual reality as he understood it. So by starting in that place, by rooting himself in God's love for him, he was actually able to find contentment at the level of the heart. He was able to do that first step that Jesus calls us to do. But then, when we look at John Lewis's life, we can see that he was discontent with everything around him that didn't reflect that image of God. Wherever there was injustice, wherever people did not have access to freedom, wherever there were power structures of domination, he spent his whole life trying to work to undo those so that the society we have here could match that upper realm. I think John Lewis's story is a great example of being content at the heart while being content with those things that don't match God's spiritual connection around us. So that brings us where we can pick up the torch and what we can do. Now, I know all of us would say, but I'm no John Lewis. And it's so easy for us to compare ourselves to other people and think, then what can I do? I don't have a voice. But wiser spiritual teachers than me are saying, actually, what we can do is start with our own hearts, our own lives, our own souls, our own education. And we can continue to read and grow and learn and educate ourselves and just become more and more aware. And as we do that, it transforms our own heart little by little. Even if we've already read a lot, there's always more we can learn. And as we do that, we never know. I'm sure you've had this experience. We never know when we will be in the right place at the right time and some conversation will come up. And we might have the opportunity to have an influence, to say something, to speak something that might spark something in someone else, and that will cause a ripple effect. All of that starts with our own hearts and looking at our own spirit. And so I want to lift up one great opportunity we have as a church to do that together. And I really want to thank Tara Sauter for leading us in this journey. And as we've said, she's going to be leading us in a book study, and I'm going to be kind of supporting her behind the scenes in that. But I just want to lift up this book for a moment as a real opportunity for us. It's called Mindful of Race, Transforming Racism from the Inside Out. It's written by Ruth King, who is a meditation teacher. She's also taught at Spirit Rock. What I love about her approach is it is this intersection between spirituality and social justice. So she starts the book by making us more aware, by explaining certain terminology, certain issues in the movement, and then she leads us in a very specific meditation practice, which we can all use, which we can apply specifically to any moment where we're triggered. She talks about being triggered in particular by racial distress, which could be something that we experience
or something we witness, or just something we notice if we ever find ourselves uncomfortable in these conversations about race, because they are painful and they're sometimes delicate. So her meditation practice can be used for any time we're triggered in our lives, but particularly in these conversations about race. And that then leads us to kind of being transformed from the inside out, so that we can, as a society, create what she calls a culture of care. A culture of care. And sometimes to do that, we have to recognize the habits of harm and ways that we maybe will even perpetuate them unconsciously, that can be helped by simple education. So that is to invite us, if you are willing. We'll talk more about it in a little bit, but on Wednesday evenings, we're going to start this Wednesday from 7:30 to 9. You don't have to have read the whole book by Wednesday. There's an audio version. You could just even listen to the beginning of it. Or you might just want to listen to it and just get together with one friend and talk about it. But this is just one tool. But I want to lift it up as a tool that helps us do the things that Jesus was inviting us to first start with our own healing in the heart, all those spiritual practices, meditation practices that can help us do that, so that we can be content at the heart and discontent with anything that is out of alignment with the world. And then when our hearts are full, we can spill over and be part of that light, that transformation, that change we wish to see in the world. So I'm going to bring us back full circle to end at the place where we began, coming back in our own hearts to being rooted and grounded in the immense, incredible knowledge and love of God. And I want to close with reading again the passage from the Tao Te Ching. And I invite us to hear it this time within the context of all that we've heard this morning, and with the context of what Jesus is inviting us to, and John Lewis's story, all of that. So I invite us once again, as we center ourselves in spirit, to listen to this passage from the Tao Te Ching. Some say that my teaching is nonsense. Others call it lofty, but impractical. But to those who have looked inside themselves, this nonsense makes perfect sense. And to those who put it into practice, this loftiness has roots that go deep. I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest teachers. Simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient, with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate toward yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. May we continue to rest in the presence of God's Spirit as we continue to abide. Thoughts or folks? Well, I know we're moving along with time, and I have one more. There's one more exciting thing, so please don't leave yet, because I found this. I searched and searched and found what, at least to me, is this really great music video that talks about some of what we're talking about. The name of the song is called Resilience. And she, near the end of the song, they actually talk about rootedness. But the other cool thing is that they've put together these beautiful dancers, and that is half of the art. It's the song and the music and the words and the dancers. So if you want to stand up and move a bit, you're welcome to, of course. But I also remind us of the power of mirror neurons. So even just watching the dancers can also be a little bit like dancing, you know, ourselves. But to me, this is a hopeful, inspirational, and I think the song was written originally during the time of the Standing Rock protests about the water pipeline, about the oil pipeline, and the sacred waters, but it can be applied to any, obviously, situation that we're in the situation we're in right now. So, and then we'll close, and then we'll also have our time of announcements right after, and invite you to stay on the call for that. So, but I invite us to just receive this as another spiritual connection.
I am resilient, I trust the movement, I negate the chaos, uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. 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 These times are poignant, the winds have shifted. It's all we can do to stay uplifted. Pipelines through backyards, wolves howling out front. Yeah, I got my crew, but truth is what I want. Realigned and on point, power to the peaceful, prayers to the waters, women at the center, all vessels open to give and receive. Let's see the system brought down to its knees. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm made of thunder, I'm made of lightning, I'm made of dirt, yeah, made of the fine things. My father taught me that I'm a speck of dust and this world was made for me, so let's go and try our luck, see. I've got my roots down, 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 down deep. I've got my roots down, 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 down deep. I've got my roots down, down, down deep. I've got my roots down, down, down deep. So what are we doing here? What has been done? What are you gonna do about it when the world comes undone? My voice feels tiny, and I'm sure so does yours. Put us all together, make a mighty trust the movement, I negate the chaos, uplift the negative. I'll show up at the table again and again and again. I'll close my mouth and learn to listen.
Isn't that beautiful? I just love that. I could watch it like 100 times.
Beautiful. That
It's
is
like,
beautiful. Oh my
Awesome.
God.
yay.
Thank you.
And we can send out the link to that if you would like to watch it again yourself. I just think
I'd
it's so
love to.
inspiring.
We need to spread that. We need to spread that.
Yes,
Yes, we
indeed.
do.
Okay, I will.
Thank you,
Thank
Kimberly.
you for the note. I will send it out, and let's be resilient and let our voices roar and be the change we want to see in the world.
Maybe we could put it on our Facebook page.
Ooh.
Woo!
Okay. Cool. Nice. Yay! Hooray!
Hooray!
Okay. So in that spirit, let us say together our closing prayer, sing our Alleluia, and then we can continue to celebrate this goodwill with each other and invite us to say this closing prayer together. Clear our heart, O God, that we may see you. Clear our heart, O God, that we may truly see ourselves. Clear our heart, O God, that we may know the sacredness of this moment, and in every moment seek you, serve you, strengthen you as the living presence in every presence. Clear our heart, O God, that we may see.
Amen. Amen.
So let us sing the Alleluia together, and you can either remain muted or enjoy a bit of chaos. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Go in peace to love and serve the world. Yay!
Be to God.
Yeah.
Hooray!